The ocean washes away blood, but not my body count. I was supposed to retire in Davao with a shotgun in a Jollibee franchise. Instead, I'm stranded here. Cabinet gone, war chest looted, and my favorite sawed-off replaced with a rusty karaoke mic. The ICC thinks they can erase me, but I've done that myself, one body at a time. I don't know where I am, but I know one thing. My approval rating here is above 70%. These islanders don't know it yet, but I'm about to reestablish martial law on a pirate ship. On the run from the ICC, we play as Punish Duterte. After our war against drugs got a bit too spicy for weak-willed EU politicians. After being saved by an asthmatic child soldier, a squad of ICC agents trailing us from our trip to Hong Kong attempt to bring us to justice. But they will not stop me on my righteous crusade to make the Philippines great again. After wandering the island trying to make sense of my situation, a local informant delivers grim news. Alleged former associates from Davao are stationed on a nearby island. Their operation? Unclear. Some say it's a toxic waste dump. Others say it's a warehouse full of unsold copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Honestly, the satellite photos they showed me looked identical. With a target in sight, we needed a ride. Luckily, the ICC agents who tried to arrest me earlier forgot Rule 1 of Philippine foreign policy. If you park it, I'll nationalize it. With support from our first indoctrinated recruit, the trustworthy Bongbong Marcos, whose qualifications include being born rich and historical revisionism, we seize their vessel and conscript a handful of re-educated ICC agents via a 12-hour karaoke session. But before we can launch our full-blown guerrilla campaign, we enlist local Schizophrenic Hiro Onoda, a man who's been fighting imaginary battles since 1945. To celebrate our escape, we began a time-honored tradition. Karaoke, a sacred right of our people, a brief window into our soul, a moment ungraciously interrupted by our good friends at the ICC. So we did what any respectable resident of Mindanao would do. We sang louder and fired first. After settling the score, we set sail for the landfill-marked Ubisoft Singapore, home of wasted potential and $200 deluxe editions that come with no gameplay. As we scouted the area, we were ambushed by a squad of holdouts from the Moro National Liberation Front, fueled by resentment, coconut wine, and misinterpreted Facebook posts. I reminded them why they stopped fighting under my administration. Because I was more unhinged than they were. That's when freelance regional warlord Noor Muswari emerged. Before I was given an excuse to continue the Moro conflict, we are interrupted by Batao de la Rosa, former police chief, alleged war criminal, full-time NPC in this fever dream. Batao de la Rosa and Muswari spill the tea. They're babysitting a warehouse stuffed with copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows, meant for a Japanese promo until a Ubisoft intern, drunk on kombucha and DEI buzzwords, mixed up Manila with Kyoto. Again. Now we've got 10,000 deluxe editions of a Black Samurai game nobody asked for, rotting next to a Jollibee dumpster. Once more, without a clear goal, we return to our ship, our bellies full from a tactical serving of Jollibee Palabok. But before we can set sail, the rebels ambush us again, this time slightly more drunk and significantly less organized. We defeat them the only way we know how, by downing a six-pack of San Miguel Red Horse and embracing the chaos. On our way back to the boat, Muswari leans in and whispers something vital. There's a hive of scum and villainy forming in the Visayas, which is probably somewhere in Samar. En route, we're intercepted by a contingent of ninja cops, stealthy, deadly, overfunded, but still somehow confused by traffic enforcers with whistles, who forget that they technically still work for me. A brief one-sided negotiation involving my boot and his spine leads to a mutual understanding. But just as things calm down, I overhear something unforgivable. Their commanding officer's phone goes off, blaring some of the worst voice acting I've ever heard. He proudly tells me that it's from the English dub of Genshin Impact. It's actually pretty good. So I do what I'm best known for, unaliving him without paperwork. I don't work with normies. Upon arrival, everything in Samar appears to be perfectly normal. After putting another ICC agent into a coma using the Jollibee mascot head, we regroup at a local bar to assess the situation. Over a few bottles of lukewarm Red Horse, we come to a disturbing realization. Our case isn't just being handled by the ICC anymore, it's personal now. Sextants, a third-generation tactical doll, has been assigned to track us down. In protest, I storm off to the local authorities to file a formal complaint. Where the hell is Lena, and why isn't she in the game yet? Bong Bong calms me down and reminds us that we have slightly bigger problems, like maybe securing a pardon for our ongoing crimes against humanity. He says there's only one person who might have the power to wipe our ICC warrant clean. A genetic clone of his own mother, Imelda Marcos. Which suddenly explains why everything in Samar looks like a Baroque-themed SM home clearance sale. According to one of her lowly subordinates, a man who definitely spent real money on NFT cockfighting simulators, Imelda is tragically stuck grinding in Skull and Bones due to a rare condition known as terminal Stockholm syndrome. But if we can prove our dedication to the grind, he says he might be able to talk to someone who talks to someone who texts her assistant's cousin. But I refuse to play another steaming pile of corporate enrichment masquerading as a pirate game. So instead, I show him a stolen clip of War Thunder naval gameplay. Fortunately, the footage was so mind-numbingly boring, he didn't even notice the difference. Impressed, our new Skull and Bones mole, still suffering from terminal Stockholm syndrome, insists on seeing our build so that he can optimize it. We nod politely, telling him, "We'll just look up a guide," and shuffle off to Manila in search of desperate individuals willing to earn 300 Filipino pesos a day, farming fake pirate gold in a broken economy on a dead MMO. Unfortunately, we are immediately intercepted by that great final boss of all Southeast Asian development, Manila Traffic. A force more powerful than NATO, and less coordinated than Philippine bureaucracy. We take a detour and land on a remote island, only to find ex-President Noynoy alive, defying death, waging a lone shadow war against the Chinese 9-dash line, until he got distracted, hunting for the weapon that killed his father. Filipinos honored that tragedy by naming the murder site after him, Ninoy Aquino International Airport, where never forget means delayed flights and overpriced Jollibee. With the weapon located in a Skull and Bones loot box, Ninoy and his extended family are recruited into our righteous gold farming crusade. We finally reach Manila and begin our true objective: finding someone with a PC powerful enough to run a pirate game with fewer features than Black Flag, a game from 2013. After an hour of bypassing due process, dodging the ICC, and talking to someone who texts someone, we finally recruit our head of IT, a man with 3 gaming laptops and 0 moral compass. But our work isn't done, because in the Philippines, every hire comes with a bloodline side quest. We need his niece, who knows some guys, who have cousins, who are married into a clan that runs an entire barangay Discord server. And with our army of underpaid gold farmers, political exiles, and nepotism recruits fully assembled, soon there will be no one left to stop us on our righteous crusade to rid the world of the cartels. With this quadruple A games player count now inflated into the triple digits, Imelda is overjoyed. Finally, someone else who willingly logged into this corporate shipwreck of a pirate simulator. We're escorted into a VIP room that was almost certainly purchased using shorted Ubisoft stock and leftover Marcos gold, where we meet her personal assistant, Eleonora de la Peña, and the extremely trustworthy individual Jose P. Laurel, a man who definitely has no unresolved tension with our ally Hiro Inoda. In the corner of the room, we spot her. Sextants, watching, judging, calculating quick-time events. Bong Bong tries to negotiate a pardon on our behalf, but I ruin everything once again by asking, where the hell is Lena, and why is she still not in the game? Before we overstay our welcome, Eleonora de la Peña pulls us aside in a hushed voice. the kind only used when something is deeply illegal. She tells us that the Ubisoft warehouse stockpiling unsold copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows holds something more. The thousands of untouched deluxe editions might not just be a logistical disaster. It may be something far worse. Something Imelda herself wants exposed. But for now, Eleonora de la Peña says nothing more. Returning to our humble vessel, I am immediately struck by the most weeb-infested skin I've ever laid eyes on. A crime against taste, flag design, and God. Naturally, I sprint back aboard to equip it, only to get ambushed once again by our beloved friends from the Moro National Liberation Front, this time with actual tactics, and a hostage. They've taken our spunky cabin boy, the asthmatic child soldier, the only crew member who knows how to cook pancit properly. I call upon Inoda and Bong Bong, forming the most unhinged tactical strike team since Team Rocket joined ASAN, and we give chase through Samar's abandoned warehouse district, a place best known for smuggling vape juice and bootleg Volts V figurines. We handle most of our problems the usual way, by bypassing due process. No arrest, no forms, just immediate karmic debt collection. We eventually find our wheezing ward alive, but just as we begin the extraction, we're interrupted by a familiar silhouette. Someone I should recognize, but can't. Possibly because I've just downed 6 bottles of San Miguel Red Horse and have entered the part of the mission where my HUD starts vibrating violently. The figure, now defeated, says nothing. I tried to question him. Standard intimidation, light war crimes. But instead, he channels his inner Kyle, punches clean through a solid foot of drywall, and takes his chances with the ocean. He doesn't resurface, but neither do my regrets. Over a shared bucket of chicken joy, we begin to dissect the situation. The meeting with Imelda, the sudden ambush, the mysterious figure who drywall punched his way into the sea. These events weren't random. Someone is pulling the strings, and unfortunately, they're probably French. Bong Bong suggests the unthinkable. What if this is all connected to the Ubisoft conspiracy? Inoda, who once read a conspiracy blog printed on banana leaves, agrees. Fortunately, he knows a guy who knows a ghost who owes him a favor. Within the hour, he sets up a meeting with Eleonora de la Peña, Imelda's personal assistant and professional loose end manager. If anyone knows what's really going on, it's her. Once again, we make our way through the impenetrable defensive line known as Manila traffic, getting distracted by escalating petty thievery, fighting a polar bear, and contracting immediate food poisoning from a street vendor selling sisig out of a repurposed gas tank. Eventually, we arrive at our destination, a meeting with our conveniently named associate, Eleonora de la Peña. She gives us the full context on the warehouse. It turns out, the facility isn't just stockpiling unsold copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows because of a failed promotional event. Ubisoft has been laundering their failed products here for decades, mixing misappropriated funds, smudged financial reports, and deluxe editions nobody asked for into one enormous logistical black hole. But things only got worse when some overpaid diversity hire decided to use the Filipino warehouse to promote a Japanese game about a black samurai, thus enraging the ghost of Emperor Hirohito and catching the attention of Tencent. All because some Karen in marketing thought, well, they're both Asian countries, how different could they be? But this isn't just any game about a black samurai, because some lunatic named Thomas Lockley has been orchestrating a multi-year conspiracy to short Ubisoft stock by gaslighting the French into using his historically inaccurate fanfiction as the foundation for a $250 million quadruple A title. And now, through a complex web of shady deals, academic fraud, and unsolicited white papers, he manages to use our associates, Ronald De La Rosa and Musari, as proxies to dig up the long-buried stockpile of unsold Ubisoft trash hidden beneath several container ships worth of useless Blu-ray discs. With this new intel in hand, we begin relocating our gold farming operation into the Ubisoft warehouse, converting it into a Marcos-inspired fraud department. But first, we must re-indoctrinate Ronald de la Rosa, back into our cause. After successfully nationalizing his operation, we hold a lengthy and morally flexible discussion about how to use Ubisoft's financial black hole to fund our ethically justified war on drugs, trademark pending. But word travels fast in Mindanao, and we are suddenly interrupted by Philippine national hero and former congressman Manny Pacman Pacquiao, who barges in declaring that this is all just a massive fever dream, and that I'm not Duerte, but some guy named Majima. Crazy talk. The toxic fumes from the warehouse have finally gotten to him. Either way, we both agree on one thing. We're going to knock some sense into each other. Luckily, like all enemies before him, I defeat Pacquiao the only way I know how. By downing a 6-pack of San Miguel by channeling forbidden knowledge, giving him the full Floyd Mayweather treatment, which involves running around in a circle for 12 minutes until he tires out. With Pacquiao now convinced of our deeply elaborate fever dream, we set course back to Samar to meet the disgraced historian, the man behind the fiction, Thomas Lockley. We find Thomas Lockley smugly waiting, held up in the least crime-ridden part of Samar, a location so suspiciously peaceful it probably has a 5-star rating on Yelp from war criminals. But before we can reach him, we're intercepted by his wannabe expat security detail, a group of pale, sandal-wearing ESL teachers armed with LinkedIn endorsements and loose morals. Naturally, we give them a Mindanao-branded welcome. Lockley slips away during the chaos, retreating to a cave system in the Bohol region, and we give chase aboard the most powerful ship in the Philippine Navy, which is still somehow a repurposed ferry with anime decals. Upon arrival, we walk into an ambush. Onoda and Bongbong are taken. I'm left alone, surrounded by limestone, betrayal, and plot development. I begin my infiltration of Lockley's Bond villain lair the only way I know how, by bypassing the Philippine legal system entirely. Eventually, I'm confronted by his ultimate weapon, a robot samurai allegedly trained on Yasuke's real-life combat data. Fortunately, the bot is only capable of stomping around like a raging chimpanzee and targeting Japanese shrines, of which none are in the vicinity. So I do what I always do, I give it the Floyd Mayweather treatment, circling it for 10 minutes until its battery dies from emotional exhaustion. With the robot decommissioned and the budget blown, I rescue Onoda and Bongbong and prepare to confront Lockley once and for all. Thoroughly impressed by our efforts, or perhaps just exhausted, he finally unveils his grand master plan. Years ago, he catfished an employee in Ubisoft's writing department, convincing her that his historical fanfiction was, in fact, verified academic research. How? Simple. He showed her a Wikipedia article he edited under an alias which cited a self-published book that he completely made up. As predicted, this enraged the Japanese government, transforming the game into one of Ubisoft's many financial black holes. But he wasn't done. He then convinced another intern, a new hire with no grasp of geography, to host a promotional event in an undisclosed Asian location. And as he foresaw, this culturally enlightened Karen thought, well, they're both island nations. They should like it all the same. Lockley manipulated the algorithmic winds of fate, tricking the world into believing the game was a success, despite it clearly earning less than the projected UI budget. It's fine, he said. It's Japanese, and Asians are good at math. Now he needs our help to uncover over a decade of failed Ubisoft products, buried financial reports, and misappropriated funds, in the most elaborate get-rich-quick scheme in Southeast Asian history, to short Ubisoft stock and walk away a billionaire. Now armed with Lockley's insider trading knowledge, we return to Ubisoft's warehouse and begin scouring the premises for buried records, long-lost projects, and leftover pre-order bonuses. During our search, we come across an old, sickly man lying in the shadows, clutched in his trembling hands, a working build of Beyond Good and Evil 2. Has he already uncovered the truth? Sadly, we are unable to question him. The man is suffering from advanced dementia and only mumbles incoherently in Ibaloy. Before we can attempt translation, our meeting is cut short, interrupted by none other than Muswari. The flames of the Moro conflict are reignited, briefly and explosively. In other words, an average Tuesday in Mindanao. After a brief and excessively dramatic skirmish, we defeat Muswari's forces, aided at the last moment by our extended family of overworked bot farmers, now armed with improvised weapons and matching team jackets. As the dust settles, Muswari tries to make a call, but we stop him before it connects. But not before we realize the truth. He's been working with Jose P. Loral. When confronted, Muswari confesses. Jose's plan is to deliver buried financial records to his contacts at Tencent. But for what purpose? Even he doesn't know. With hostilities cooling and everyone's respawn timers on cooldown, we come to a mutual agreement. Muswari and De La Rosa will stay behind to finish dismantling the warehouse and recover what remains of Ubisoft's financial sins. Meanwhile, we escort our chronically unpaid gold farmers back to Samar to bring Thomas Lockley fully into the fold. Upon regrouping with Lockley, we graciously convince him to join our cause in exchange for a decreased cut of the profits, leveraging the perfectly legitimate power of my political dynasty. Everything seems to be going smoothly, until our good friend Sextant arrives, flanked by none other than Jose P. Loral. Loral calmly states that Lockley isn't allowed to leave until we resolve a small legal inconvenience. Our ICC warrant for crimes against historical integrity. I try to appeal the situation through proper channels, specifically by messaging Imelda's fifth cousin twice removed. But then the conversation quickly derails, as he too has fallen into the gotcha hell known as Girls Frontline 2. And now I'm stuck asking, again, why Lena still isn't in the game. And why that, in of itself, is a war crime. Luckily, he offers me a lead. There's a big promotional event happening in Manila, and if I attend, I get free cubes to stockpile and eventually roll for Best Girl. Without hesitation, I drop everything I'm doing, all in the name of one righteous mission, reuniting with Elena. To my horror, there is no promotional event at the specified location. Instead, it's a trap set by the ICC, and they've brought their entire extended family. Lawyers, interns, tactical dolls, and one guy from Belgium who just really hates fun. Sadly for them, their European-styled court system was no match for our special brand of paperwork-free Filipino justice. Even their elite bounty hunter couldn't intervene because he was still stuck inside the labyrinthine nightmare that is the European legal system. With their legal options exhausted, they make one last desperate move. They attack us in international waters. But then, one of their recruits makes a fatal mistake. He posted a heated Twitter comment about Filipinos while committing the ultimate sin. He isn't Southeast Asian. This activates the sea monkey hive mind, which emerges from the digital shadows and proceeds to collectively erase the ICC's naval department from existence. We return to Samar, re-energized, with one final obstacle standing in our way: Sextants. Before that, we pay one last visit to Jose P. Loral, for no other reason than to gloat. He tries one last time to win us over to his side, but I remind him, my political dynasty is bigger than his political dynasty, and I walk out like I own the place. Because I do. Back at the ship, we discover something's wrong. Bong Bong is missing. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Onoda informs me he's been misappropriating funds. Like father, like son. We track Bong Bong to the only fully intact building left on the island, a Jollibee. There we try to knock some sense into him. We need him for the upcoming battle. Nervously, Bong Bong tells us the whole truth about the Ferdinand dynasty, how his family treated the Philippines like a personal piggy bank, and how he didn't want us to think he was returning to his old ways. We assure him, truthfully, I've also been misappropriating funds. Several other members of our illicit bot farming operation quietly chime in. They've been misappropriating funds too. Onoda stands up, completely confused. How does anything in this country get done? Is there anyone who hasn't been misappropriating funds? We return to the ship, preparing ourselves for the final confrontation with Sextants. Our battle was short and sweet. Mostly because I don't remember any of it, having downed an entire six-pack of San Miguel Red Horse right before it started. Sextance, the ICC thorn in our side, was defeated. She mumbled incoherently for a bit, probably reciting the Geneva Convention in binary, before trying to pull a fast one. Sadly, she didn't account for one critical variable. Lena may not be in the game yet, but Klukai is, and I just pulled a V1, who promptly deletes Sextance's entire bloodline from this plane of existence. Mission accomplished. And conveniently, I forgot to file the paperwork, so as far as the ICC is concerned, Sextance is still on the case. With no more obstacles, we set sail with Lockley, who uses his insider knowledge to pinpoint the exact location of Ubisoft's impending doom. A hidden underground cave system off the coast of the warehouse. But, as we prepare our descent, we discover something else. It turns out, there really was a toxic waste dump here the whole time. And our bot farming operation is now under attack by a giant radioactive squid. The rain begins to hammer down. Water spouts tear through the horizon. But for us, it's just another average day in the Philippines. The squid, even with Mother Nature on its side, is still no match for our extended family raised on the unpaved dirt roads of Mindanao, armed with improvised spears and generational trauma. Finally, we disembark, and before us lies the accumulated fraud of an entire generation. Stacks upon stacks of unsold AAA and quadruple A Ubisoft games. Each one more overpriced, underdeveloped, and poorly patched than the last. We begin to document everything. Screenshots, ledgers, photo mode selfies. But then, she makes her move. Imelda hijacks a press conference and nationalizes Carnival Cruise Lines with a single diva pose. The world gasps, the market shudders, and just like that, a race to the bottom of Ubisoft's stock portfolio begins. A battle not seen since the likes of Letty Gulf, now fought not with destroyers, but with bots, fraud, and shareholder panic. The risk Imelda took was calculated. Sadly, she wasn't the right type of Asian to be good at math, and her underpaid crew of imported Southeast Asian workers was no match for my underpaid crew of Southeast Asian workers, forged in the fires of bot farming and shared Wi-Fi in a barangay internet cafe. Victory is at hand. Soon, we'll have enough to fund our anti-drug operation for decades. Free from the ICC's prying eyes. Free to deliver justice as God intended. But Jose P. Laurel has one final trick. A dossier claiming that my war on drugs was a front to enrich Daval's cartels. If he leaks it, the ICC will swarm us again. And public opinion will turn faster than a Jollibee line on a Sunday. After a heated debate and a quick Red Horse chug, we devise a plan only a true Mindanaoan could dream up. We set it in motion. I hand over Ubisoft's portfolio to Laurel, but it's a trap. Tucked inside the folder is a rigged San Miguel Red Horse bottle wired to a rusty shredder we nabbed from Ninoy Aquino International Airport's Lost and Found. The moment Laurel opens it, the shredder will roar to life, fueled by stolen office supplies and pure spite, chewing Ubisoft's portfolio to confetti as we watch in triumph. Soon, nothing can stop me, except the worst mechanic of all time. Cutscene incompetence. An open letter to developers everywhere. Please, stop doing this. Tired, defeated, once again stripped of purpose. I sit, tied to a chair I could easily break out of. But instead, I let myself be used as a punching bag for literal NPCs. Why am I like this? Did they bring in a last-minute writer from Ubisoft? But that no longer matters, because I'm rescued by none other than Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao and Eleonora de la Peña, the two least likely Deus Ex Machinas in modern Philippine history. I stand up and proceed to vent generations of trauma on a guy who doesn't even have a name tag. And with that, the hostile takeover of Samar begins. No longer will the Philippines walk the path of becoming a narco-state. No longer will we live under the shadow of the ICC. No longer will we be controlled by foreign megacorps like Tencent. The Philippines will be free. And I'll do it my way.
May paraan ito kung ang tao ganyan siya, kung di sa kanya walang halaga sa paghayag ng damdamin at hindi siya sumusuko. Katunayan, pinako ko may paraan ako. Yan ang ating pag